So one area that I see my students struggle with a lot is this area here, where they've played an approach shot and it's come up short of the green, but there's too much grass for them to putt, and so they have to chip. And the problems that I often see with chipping is the club hitting the ground, and then the ball just kind of squirts a few inches in front of them, or the club skips on the ground and then the leading edge hits into the back of the ball, and then their ball is over the other side of the green. And navigating this type of a short shot can be a challenge, especially for new golfers. It can be a challenge for experienced golfers as well. And so hopefully what I practice today will be helpful to you. So I brought my putter out and I brought my 7-iron out. And I wanted to help you understand that you can build off of your skills that you have with your putting, and that can come and help you here with a very simple chip shot. So if I was going to putt to that hole over there, right, for my putting stroke, my golf ball is somewhere closer to my front foot. If I had a logo on my shirt over here and I drew a line straight down from my logo to the ground, that's kind of where the ball position would be. And so if I was going to putt this, right, I'd sit up and putt it, and then the type of stroke I'd make would be something like this. Because it's a fairly long putt. If I was on the green, I'd have to give it a good stroke. Well, if I take my 7-iron, I know that I cannot putt this and have it be reliable. But if I take my 7-iron and do the same thing, right? So for a while we're going to imagine that my 7-iron is my putter. So what I'll need to do is I'll need to kind of raise the handle a little bit. So I'm not standing at full swing distance away, and so I don't need the sole of the club to be on the ground. I want to raise it up on its toe just a little bit. So I'm going to stand a little closer. And again, if I was putting, my ball position would be underneath the logo on my shirt, and that's the swing that I'd make for my putt. Now the only difference we're going to make here is we're going to move the ball position so now it's in line with our back foot. But I'm going to still make the same putting stroke with the goal of just getting the ball to be in the way so that it bumps onto the front edge of the green, so that my next shot is a putt and not a chip. But the movement that I'm making is very similar to a putting stroke that I would be making. And how the putting stroke works is that there's very little like big body turn or big body movements, right? It's just simply arms stay relatively straight from where they were at address, and the shoulders do a bit of a teeter-totter. That's the way that I describe it. They change their tilt orientation. So if I do that here, ball towards the back, and I just simply make a putting stroke, then I can get this ball to be on the green relatively easily without having to make some type of complicated chipping movement or anything like that. So I'm going to change the camera angle now so you can see down the line of what I'm doing, and then you can see kind of where these balls are gathering. Success in this type of a shot, I mean, perfection would be if it rolls in the hole, but success would be getting it onto the green so that your next shot is a putt rather than a chip. So let me change directions here, and you can see from down the line what I've been working on. All right, again, I've got my 7-iron. All right, I've got my 7-iron, and the ball's going to be closer in line with my back foot than my front foot. If I was putting, it would be up over here. With my little 7-iron chip, I'm going to play it back a little bit. I'm going to raise the handle, but it's still going to be like a long putting stroke. Right, and you'll see that all that happens is the ball kind of skips up and on, and then it makes it so that my next shot is a putt. Now, as you get confident with this little putting stroke with the 7-iron and just being able to roll that ball up on the green, the skill of doing it like this is going to translate to where we go and get the wedge in our hand, and we start to hit a little more higher shots and maybe learn how to get trajectory to help us get that ball to stop on the green. But this is a very, very useful way to make sure that our next shot is a putt. And you can just spend a little bit of time, like 5 minutes, doing this, and you'll start to see that, man, I can actually get really good results out of this by just kind of putting with the 7-iron with the ball position that's off to the back a little bit and get these balls bumping onto the green so that my next shot is a putt. So it's just a putting stroke. The main difference is when you're putting, the ball's up over here. With the chipping, you're going to be over here, but it's a similar move. It's just shoulders going back and forth, kind of teeter-totter. The thought for today is that if we use a 7-iron instead of a putter off the edge of the green here where we've got too much grass, there's a flag down there, a little red one that I'm going to go to. And if I don't feel like the ball's going to roll evenly or true enough and it'll be a little bit unpredictable to get it there by putting it, then I'm going to use my 7-iron and just get the ball to bump onto the green and roll towards the hole. And I don't want you to think that this is like a lesser skill or it's inferior to taking a wedge and playing a more flighted shot to get there, because it's really not. It's the smart way to do it sometimes, and sometimes the smarter way is the better way than taking a risky shot. This type of a little 7-iron putt shot, putt chip from this side of the green is a lot less risky than taking a 60-degree wedge and trying to go for the big flop shot with high spin and hope that you execute it just perfectly. The margin for error is a lot bigger with the 7-iron little chip putt off the side of the green than it is with the wedge. And so the difference we're going to do when we're putting, ball position is going to be a little more forward. When we're chipping with our 7-iron, ball position is going to be a little more backward. Right, so that would be a putt. There's the chip. We lift the handle up just a little bit so we can stand a little closer to it. But the stroke, we're going to try and keep the strokes the same. So if I was making a long putt, right, my putting stroke would be something like that. All I'm trying to do with this 7-iron chip shot is do the same type of a stroke and let the ball get in the way of that. So let's kind of chip these ones down there towards that hole and follow along as I do this. I'll talk you through it. So anytime we get a club in our hand that's not a putter, even sometimes we've got the putter, consciously or subconsciously we try and hit at it. And so I don't want to have that be my thought, right? I'm just trying to have the ball get in the way. So I'm going to treat this like a long putt and just have the ball get in the way and then roll that ball down towards that target. If you watch some of my other chipping videos, when I do have a more lofted wedge, you'll know that it's handle forward, weight forward, and we kind of come down steep, and then we use the movement of our shoulders to make sure that that club doesn't dig into the ground. This one's it's going to have less body movement. There'll still be elements of that, but we don't have to be so far forward. It'll just be much more like a putting stance, putting move, and let the ball get in the way. and you just make a long putting stroke. And I like this approach to short shots because you're not learning a brand new skill. Other than moving ball position, there's really not that much different from making a putt. And after just a few moments, if you've been doing your putting drills, you will be able to see how the putting stroke translates really, really nicely into a 7-iron chipping stroke. So ball's closer to the back foot, and we just make a putting stroke to get that ball bouncing onto the green in front of us and rolling down towards our target. Using the 7-iron and putting it, it takes out some of the risk of making a bigger swing with the wedge. And that risk with, you've seen this before, but you hit the equator of the golf ball and suddenly your next shot is a chip either from the bunker across the side of the green, or maybe there's, maybe you don't hit it across the other side of the green, but you chunk it, and then your next shot is just a couple of feet in front of you. So just a long putting stroke. You still want the backswing and the follow through to kind of match the shot that you're about to play. Success on any chip shot, whether you're using your 7-iron or you're using a wedge or whatever it is, success is going to be if the next shot is a putt rather than a chip. The thing that when I'm playing that makes me the most annoyed when I'm playing is if I'm chipping and my target's just right there and my next shot is a chip, whether it's because I've duffed it and it's just gone right over here, or I've sculled it and it's gone across the green. If my next shot is a chip, that usually gets my heart rate working a little bit. But just putting these balls down that hill with a 7-iron is a lot less risky than taking out that 60-degree or 56-degree and trying to go for a high spinning shot. To try and keep the putting tempo that you'd have on a long putt. And this works out really nicely. Let's do the same exercise that I just did with my 7-iron. This time I've got my 9-iron, so a little more loft on the face, which means the ball is going to launch a little higher, which sometimes when you're chipping, you like to see a little bit of a launch. And so if you practice with your 7-iron and you don't like the fact that it comes out super, super low, which is not wrong. It's going to happen. You're not going to launch them very high with the 7-iron, but they're going to come off the 7-iron low, but they'll roll predictably. If you want to see a little more height, then change to a 9-iron. Just understand that you might have to make that putting stroke a little bit bigger back and through to compensate for the fact that some of the energy now that you're transferring to the golf ball is going to be turned into height and not just distance. All right, so a little more loft, you might need to make a slightly bigger swing, but everything else will be the same. So, play the ball a little more towards the back. It's still going to feel much like a putting stroke. It just might be a little bit of a bigger putting stroke. Oh, that one went in. That's fantastic. We like those ones. And it's always good to kind of watch the ball until it stops rolling. That way you got some feedback on how to proceed for the next one. Ooh, right on the edge. That was a nice one too. So it feels like a little bit of a longer putting stroke. Um, maybe if you've done that putting exercise where you putt from one side of the green to the other and try and have that ball just hang on the fringe of the green, it might feel like that length of a putting stroke, just a little bit. But it's still just back and through like you're putting it. I like this way of chipping. Um, it's a little less complicated than using a wedge. When you're using a wedge, the more loft you have on it, the more you've got to do to get the ball to get to your target. And so and sometimes when you got more to do, that just translates into complicated. And I'd say for most of us, complicated is not what we need in our golf game. Simple would be the way to go. And so just translate your putting stroke into a chip with a less lofted club, like a 7-iron, or in this case, a 9-iron, putting back and through. Take the risk out of the shot. As your confidence grows, we can definitely work into hitting higher flop shots and shots with more spin and other things, but this is a perfect way to overcome the errors from chipping simply by taking your 7-iron or your 9-iron and playing a long putting stroke. Just a few more here for this set of golf balls. Again, I'm just trying to think of teeter-totter the shoulders, putt back and through. I'm not trying to hit this golf ball. It just gets in the way of the club head like it would a putt. Played pool on that one, knocked the previous ball into the hole. That's always fun to see. Yeah, good stuff. Two more, balls back, and you just putt it. And again, success is if your next shot is a putt rather than a chip. So hopefully that shows you that putting with a 9-iron or a 7-iron off the side of the green, that's a useful way to save strokes. If you're struggling with your chips, if you're not comfortable with the wedge and you don't like what's going on, try this. Just try putting it with a different club. It works.